I'm the curator here at the Fleming Museum, and I want to share with you one of the big projects that I'm working on now, which is a new installation of our Asian permanent collection to open in early February 2017. And I'll talk to you about some of the important questions that come up when you're planning such a project. Despite the fact that some of our most magnificent acquisitions in the last 20 years or so have been in Asian art, we haven't really been showing these collections to their best advantage, sort of in these odd corridor spaces. The one on the left is upstairs off of our European American gallery. The one on the right is one of the corridors off our lobby, which you might have bypassed if you went through the sex objects show. And then right here in our marble court behind these black curtains. So we decided to use the Wilbur Room wood-paneled gallery and former library space as the new Asian gallery. And as you can see, the space has some challenges when it comes to hanging art, namely that there aren't any plain walls to actually hang art on. And our exhibition designer, Jeff Falsgraf, has made do with this, that solution of those panels, but now we'll be able to spruce up the space. This is an incredible 3D design he did in SketchUp, and you'll see there'll be full walls instead of those panels. We'll expand that central niche, and this will also help with lighting the space, because with its high ceilings, lighting can be quite the challenge. So while he's working on that, my job is to sift through the over 2,000 Asian objects we have in our collection in order to represent Asia, this humongous and diverse continent, and that's not something that's really possible even with a lot more objects in space than we have. So to be clear, we're only representing select countries in Asia, mainly in East, South, and Southeast Asia, and only certain types of objects or historical moments according to the strengths of our collection, which I'll share with you now. We're lucky to have these ancient Chinese bronzes, over 3,000 years old. The one on the left is called a ding. It's a tripod vessel. It was the most elite form that nobles used at the time. The one on the right is this incredible jade knife with a bronze dragon handle. I think an interesting aspect of Chinese art history is the echoes, the kind of reuse of forms from 400 to 1100 years apart, the Han and the Tang dynasty. You see the same forms recurring many centuries apart. Jumping forward many years, we have this amazing collection of dragon robes from the Qing dynasty when the ruling Manchu people created this elaborate court system where every symbol and color on your robe was symbolic of your particular rank. Textiles are very light sensitive, so we'll have to rotate them because this installation will be up for many years, and there's a number of categories of object that's true of, as you'll see. A lot of the Chinese objects we have weren't made for Chinese audiences, they were made for Western audiences, particularly during the era of the Canton trade system when a particular city was designated as the place where the Westerners could come and trade, and these carved decorative ivories were created by the boatload for them. The one on the left is really magnificent. It's in a shell, so it's iridescent. We can represent, through our small Korean collection, some of the evolution of Korean ceramics from early earthenwares to the sort of evolution of very elegant celadon glazes, the pale green and the blue and white glazes adopted from Chinese models. Same is true of Japan, where we have ancient pottery shards from an era, the Jimon era, actually named after this type of cord-mark pottery, to contemporary ceramics by Japanese-American ceramicists, including Hideo Akino, who taught at UVM for 10 years. Of course, it's hard to think about Japan's political history without thinking about the role of the samurai, and we have a great collection of samurai arms and armor, from suits to helmets to face masks to swords. These might also have to be rotated because some of the cords and fabrics incorporated into them would also be light sensitive and would fade over time. Another very light sensitive but popular group of items is our Hiroshige prints. These are incredibly valued by Western audiences. I think they're kind of essential when we think of Asian art, and yet at the time they were really kind of like the equivalent of college dorm room posters. Like they were really mass produced for a middle class audience. An amazing mask collection, particularly from Japan, where we have the bugaku, and no theater traditions represented, and really rare Sri Lankan mass representing the Toval ritual, which is a kind of healing exorcism with certain mass representing certain deities, certain ailments that they would cure through the dance. The Cannon Room, some of you way back might remember, our first Asian objects came in 1898 from Henry LeGrand Cannon. He had set up this room in his house, and it was recreated in various forms at the Fleming Museum. Some of the way he presents Asia is problematic, but it's a history that we want to deal with and dig into. Some magnificent acquisitions from recent years are ancient Indian sculpture, terracotta figures from the Mauryan dynasty, and Buddhist sculpture from Gandhara, which is now modern-day Pakistan. And of course, Buddhism originated in India, but now it's a minority religion, less than 1% of the population. So of course, Hinduism is about 80%, but then the second largest religion in India is actually Islam at about 13%, but we don't have a lot in our collection to represent Islam in India, with the exception of a few photographs and paintings that represent the art and architecture of the Mughal Empire, which was a Muslim empire. An amazing collection of Southeast Asian art from Doris Duke, who was the famous heiress and philanthropist and Asian art collector. The challenge here is that these things are life-size, so how many of these magnificent things can we actually fit into the space while still representing all the other cultures that we want to represent? And our most recent acquisition of Asian art are these carved sculptures from Indonesia representing these fierce guardian figures. So that gives you a brief glimpse at some of the exciting riches that you're going to experience when you come back next spring to see the Asian installation. And because of this presentation format, I've only been able to scratch the surface of some of the rich stories these objects can tell. But a big installation like this doesn't happen all by itself, and so in the meantime, we will all be hard at work at the Fleming Museum. Thank you.